is the famous. And I'll let him carry it on from there. Let's bring Milan Hart up here.
Mike, you forgot one thing.
Okay.
We have to be positive.
Yes.
If we walk through our political life negative, we only spread more negativeness. So we must be positive about our country, about our cause, and about our party. Don't look at, always, the Republicans should always say our glass is half full, not half empty. And if we go through life that way, thinking that things will get better, it will get better. You can't become better if you're negative. The word speaks for itself. There's a lot of things in our government that people are not very happy about. And I think the biggest cat in the bag is regulations and laws. Independent business in America today is the backbone of our country. There is no doubt. We're the job creators, the entrepreneurs, we're the people that are willing to take the risk in employing people and putting our life savings on the line. Our government, though, feels that we're not necessary. That's how I feel as an independent business person. The regulations against small business are so convoluted and so murky, it's hard to find out what's legal and what's not legal, what's right and what's not right, what you can do legally and what you can't do. Where do you find out these answers to these questions? All laws, all of our rules and regulations are probably brought up with the best of all intentions. Somewhere along the line, they become oppressive and they ruin and destroy independent business. Partially because we cannot find out what's legal to do and what's not legal to do. No one to ask. You can make a million phone calls, you get put on hold, and you get transferred until you go crazy. You can't get straight answers from our government. I wrote this, and I don't normally go by notes, but businesses, big business is allowed to do more things than independent business. It is. Everybody has the same rules, but large business gets breaks as to where little businesses, independents, don't. Big business is able to correct, like paperwork errors for say, and make amendments to those errors as to where we are not able to do that. Proof again that our government really doesn't want independent business. And it's not just my business, it's not just the business of firearms ownership. In the United States and in Minnesota, there have been many businesses put out of business because of rules and regulations and for our government not allowing human error. Nobody's perfect. I mean, if you have watched news lately, you'll notice that our government has really made some blunders here lately. They've lost a whole lot of firearms. They won't talk about Benghazi. Was it paperwork errors? What is the problem? But they're fraught with errors, as is any business that has a human being running it. You're going to have errors. I lost my federal license due to human error. When I was inspected, not this time, but the time before, they found a couple of paperwork errors. And I know people think I'm masking this over, but I'm not. I'll show my list of violations to anyone. We didn't check a couple boxes, which when you call a gun in, you mark proceed. I forgot to do that a couple times. I didn't have a guy re-sign a form when he was a delay. He had to come back to pick up his gun. I missed that. Human error. Well, because I had made the mistake in 2 different inspections, now our government calls that willful intent. And they could prove that through the wording of the law that was written, and I lost my license because of it. So I guess one day when I was 59 years old, I woke up and said, I'm going to screw up today so I can lose my livelihood.
Yeah.
Apparently that's what they think. Not just my business, but all businesses are in the same thing. I know a man who has a successful tire business. When you buy a trailer, that tire on that trailer has a brass stem. When he repairs that tire, he puts a brass stem back in it. Oh, that's illegal. He was putting brass stems back in. If a tire would have blown up, he could have been held liable. Let's put a steel stem back in. Why? No one will answer that question for him. Who wrote the law? Can't find out. Was anybody ever contacted on that to make sure it made sense? No. Politicians make the laws that have never worked in that field at all. It makes no sense. Our state and federal governments become so bloated that it's the rotting corpse of failure to the people who support it. I did everything in my possible power to do the government's bidding and follow the paperwork, the rules, regulations, safety regulations, signage regulations that I had to do. But I left them a paperwork trail so that they could put me out of business. And that's exactly what they did. Now, a person without a license, which by the way is not against the law, can sell as many firearms as they want, and it's legal. You don't need a license in this country to sell firearms, only to order them. So they don't go to gun shows, this gun show loophole, they don't go to gun shows and try and get the guys that are selling guns every weekend without a license, because it would probably be too hard for them to establish a paperwork network for them to have proof. So in other words, folks, they'd have to work. It's easy for them to come to my shop and take my license away because I have a map for them to follow to find my errors to put me out of business, justifying their jobs. And why? Last year, my wife and I made the $2 million mark in our shop. Last year was an exceptional year based on a tragedy. But with that, that's $140,000 in state sales tax. The state doesn't get that from me now. This year I might pass $250,000. Government doesn't care about the state of Minnesota. We have to do that ourselves. We have to care about our state. Accountability should be the main focus of any regulatory office. Non-harassment, not closing businesses that are trying to do their best for the government's bidding. I fought our government for 20 years to keep my business alive. People who are in business, people say, well, you're in business for yourself. Yup, but not 100%. I love serving the people of this community, of Freeborn County, and of the state of Minnesota. Being in business is a sacrifice. There is no free ride. I love to hunt. You think I get to hunt? I gotta be in my shop during hunting season. I sacrifice that and many other things. Birthdays, weddings, things I should have been at. I was running my business. For the betterment of myself, yes, but also for the pleasure and betterment of my community, the town I love, Albert Lee. Government doesn't care. They really don't. People who don't have a federal license don't have to do book work. They don't get their inventory checked. They don't get their signage checked. They don't do anything. The other thing they can't do is they can't help the government trace a product. Whether that product be a baby crib, tomatoes and onions, or guns. They don't know who they sold it to because there's no paperwork. We always did that. In the 38 years we were in business, I never lost a gun. I could trace every gun that the tracing center ever wanted me to trace, and I could have that answer back to them in less than 2 hours. And people who know me know that we sold thousands upon thousands of firearms, each one having a paperwork trail. The guys that do it on weekends cannot help our government regulatory systems, but they leave those people alone. They only come after legal businesses. Now, I could be wrong in that, but that is the way it looks to me. I don't hear of other people getting busted for selling guns privately at these shows or anywhere else. When I had to surrender my license March 9th, our government knew that I had over 2,800 firearms on the floor in my shop. They also knew that I had over 1,000 guns of my own in one of my vaults, and that I had 2 more rooms of guns upstairs. In the hearing that I went to, my lawyers asked, if you remove Mr. Hart's license, what does he do with his inventory? Oh, he can just sell it. You're taking his license away because he made minor errors, and you're going to allow him to put over 3,000 firearms on the street without paperwork or a background check? Even today, I can't wrap my head around this. We've called many different lawyers, got the same answer from everybody. My personal property, I can just sell it. Our government system is broken, and it needs repair. It needs us to fix this. We asked if we could use the National Criminal Instant Background System, NICS. We were told no. We were already set up, didn't even have to talk to a person. We could do it on a computer. We were told that was a privilege only for licensed gun dealers. They knew before we left that room that day that they were going to pull my license. So, I have put almost 2,000 guns on the street now without a background check. Think I feel good about that? I do not. But I have to survive. But that is our government under this administration. No one will listen. I've tried. Our rules and regulations are so goofy, not in just my industry, but any. Did you know that you can pull a 50-foot camper down the road behind a 1-ton pickup, and there's nothing else needed but your driver's license? Put a horse trailer behind that same truck, and you have to have a CDL. Why? Nobody can answer that either. Just another thing that's not right. School bus driver cannot pull his bus over to stop a fight in the back of the bus. Yet if somebody gets really hurt or stabbed, a school bus driver is liable. Another dumb law. Another rule that somebody who wrote it never drove a school bus in his life. And in Minnesota, you cannot spend your way into prosperity. You cannot regulate your state into romancing businesses into coming to your state. It can't happen, and it won't. We can talk all day on what not to do, but we have to have some solutions. My solution is, before a law gets written, that they should put out a call for volunteers for people in that industry to come, and you will get volunteers because people care. People want to make a difference. You will get volunteers, people that don't get a paycheck for doing this, to come and help you write that law, to make sure that what you're putting on paper, what you're putting in front of the public as a law, makes sense and does matter for the safety, sanctity, and welfare of our public. If you have, I can write laws about bringing horses. I've never raised a horse. If I could write laws about it, would they be right? No. That's what's going on up in Washington, in our state capitol, when they make rules and regulations for your livelihoods. How many people here would volunteer to help write a law for the industry that you serve? That's right, all of you. And you do it as free will, because people want to make a difference. Minnesotans care. It's known that we're the most giving state in the United States. Our donations are larger than most other states, and we're good Christian people. We care about our businesses, and we're very, very adamant about our state. Let's see here. And as Republicans, I feel that our focus should be on saving independent businesses, not just because of what happened to me. Because independent business raises a lot of money for this state. And the family farm. kind of a joke now, but the truth. I grew up on a farm, and those family farms should be saved because the heritage of our nation. Make it easier to start a small business. Don't make the small business administration so convoluted with paperwork and rules and regulations that make no sense. Make it easy to start a business. It isn't right now. Go try. And proper training once you get that business started. Instead of having these people that come down and try and put you out of business, try and find fault, have those same people come down and say, you know, Milan, you did this wrong. This is how to correct that problem. There's a program for your computer that you can put on there so you'll never make that mistake again. They know all this, but they won't share it. It kind of makes me angry. With cooperation between state and government and the people of Minnesota, and with open lines of communication, we, the Republican Party, can rebuild a strong, prosperous, safe, and lovely Minnesota. Thank you, and God bless.